to start, do I have permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Perfect. Could you please tell me your name?
Olivia.
Olivia. And Olivia, how would you describe the community of Mount Pleasant today?
Today or just like in general?
In general.
Yeah.
In general.
So when I think of Mount Pleasant, I think of the history of it and like how integral the Salvadorian community was and is to it, even though it's a very gentrified neighborhood now, and the resistance and struggle of the 1990s shooting and like the uprisings here, and how that still is living. And is part of like the present for like folks who like have that history. But I see it too as very localized and hasn't been bought and sold out by like big developers yet. And that I hope that is maintained, even though it is a very gentrified area. So, yeah.
And in what ways would you describe Mount Pleasant in the past?
I am not from DC, so I can't like speak to like lived experience of it. So I guess I wouldn't know.
That's fair. Where are you from?
Originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh. And what brought you to DC?
I do a lot of like international to local solidarity activism work, centered around like anti-militarism and anti-imperialism. So for me, like Salvadorian, like U.S.-backed violence in Salvador is very like something that the U.S. public is not as familiar with, and like I think that like when I walk the streets of Mount Pleasant, I'm reminded of that struggle and of like the legacy and like history and resistance, but also how the people have built community around that. So I've lived and worked abroad, and I've been in DC a couple of years, but I've been back and forth from it, and am like very proud to say that I live here. I'm a resident of DC, and it's a lot of people outside of DC think of it as a transient city or just like, not a localized place. And I really push back on that because, historically it was predominantly black, and Chocolate City was its nickname and name, and how much that has shifted because of like gentrification. So.
When you have friends or family come and visit you in DC, where's one place that you take them?
Orcelia's. So the reason why I was excited to do this is Orcelia's, the pupusa spot in Mount Pleasant, the pink building on the corner. Like, I love it there. Like for me, I travel a lot, and like my last meal when I leave is either like Salvadorian at Orcelia's or like an Ethiopian like platter. And so for me, like I love bringing folks there, and just knowing people by name in there. They know what I want already when I'm there. Just like it's a really just comfort food, and also just a place that is still surviving and like serves the people.
And would you say that's your favorite place in DC, or is there somewhere else that you would name your favorite place in DC?
Favorite is hard. I have a lot of favorites. So for me, my favorite pupusas are definitely Orcelia's. Yeah.
Perfect. And how would you like to see the DC community, like the greater community, change for the better in the future?
I don't know if I would say change. I would say for the greater community of DC, especially people who aren't from DC, to like look into the history and the realities of DC, and to be more like aware of like how we take up space or how we are like contributing to a community. There's amazing mutual aid initiatives that happen here. So I think rather than change, it's more like respect and pay homage and to embrace like the local and the community, especially in Mount Pleasant, and I live in Adams Morgan, like the history of activism and community-based care models that like we should be building off of instead of like moving away from.
Right. And in what ways do you feel like you have become a part of the community? Is there a certain place maybe, or a certain group of people that just really make you feel a part of the community?
Yeah. So I started a group house like 10 minutes from here in Adams Morgan, and we do a lot of like community-based events, cultural events, political education events, and for me, like I like to connect people because I'm super outgoing. Like for me, like I find people that I'm like, whoa, we connect, and then I want to like connect them with other people that are cool that I think that would like connect with them. And so for me, I have just leaned into like a lot of social justice activism worlds, creatives like artists and the people who make food and like bring like their culture and heritage through that. I also play basketball, like that's what I'm coming from now, and like bring that in, and like reclaiming public spaces is a big thing for me, because the more a city gets developed, the less public spaces there are. And for me, like, you know, this concept of like cracking down on crime or like revitalizing a community just means like taking away public spaces, and the opposite needs to happen in order to like really like move forward. So yeah, there's a lot of amazing communities that I like love like binding together and just like exposing to the world, or like to the community at large.
Right. Perfect. And is there anything that you want to touch on that I haven't asked you about?
I guess like I think just I've heard a lot of times people like having a bittersweet feeling of DC, and like I would say like really connect with the local. Like it's yes, we are in the belly of the beast, the heart of the empire, like, which is a national, international thing, but like to really like deep dive into local, they'll make you feel connected, and like again, it won't dismiss like the communities that were here and like that have been displaced, and like how we can be in solidarity with that while living here.
Perfect. Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course.